So if I were starting photography in 2022, this is what I would do. I would learn to understand your histogram. Now your histogram is that little chart that you can bring up on your DSLR or your mirrorless camera, and that basically tells you if your exposure is good. Generally you want it to peak like a mountain, because on one side you have your highlights and on the other side you have your blacks. So if you're too far over one side, you're going to be overexposed, and you're too far over to the other side, you're going to be underexposed. As long as you get it so it looks like that mountain, your photo is going to be exposed pretty well. Now, photography is an art and it's all subjective. If you think it looks good, that's your choice. But if you nail the exposure in camera, you can change it after the fact. If you underexpose or overexpose, you might be able to save the image, but you'll be sacrificing details. Some details might get lost in the highlights if you overexposed it. Other details might get lost when you underexpose it. So generally, if you master your histogram, your photos will be exposed perfectly, and then you can change it after the fact. Now, the next thing I would do is I'd look into composition. Study the rule of thirds. Look at all the different ways that you can compose an image. Go on Instagram, see if you can find, some other photographers and try to see how they compose their image. That'll give you a good idea of what their composition was. Also, your camera has overlays that you can go to that'll actually help you with your composition, so you can line up the horizon or you can frame your image. Something that just kind of makes your subject pop. Look for leading lines. Try to get a basic understanding of what composition is. Now, the other thing is to focus to infinity. Now, what is focusing to infinity? Basically, what it is choosing the farthest point in your image and focusing on that, so everything else can stay in focus. So you get almost everything in focus. The reason why you'd want to learn how to focus to infinity is because if you're just running and gunning with your camera, you don't have a tripod or anything like that, you just like to be free with your camera, you want to learn to focus to infinity, because you don't want to be taking a landscape shot and having it focused on a weird part of the image, only to come home, load up your files, look at your photos in Lightroom, and have a big blurry mess. That's just awful. I speak from experience. So look into focusing to infinity. It'll help you out greatly. So going off the last point, if you want to take those big, beautiful landscape shots, you can focus stack. Now, what focus stacking is choosing different points in your image and taking a photo for each focus point. So one starts in the foreground, goes all the way to the background. So that way, when you get into Photoshop, you can stack those images together. It'll be perfectly in focus from front to back. Now you can also focus to infinity on this, but it won't be as sharp as layering the photos. It's just another thing you can do for sharper photos. Now, the other thing I would suggest learning is getting a basic understanding of how light works. Shooting in golden hour, early in the morning or in the evening when the sun's rising or the sun's setting, you're going to get phenomenal colors. The light's going to hit the trees in a different way. It looks amazing, and you only have an hour to get that light. Golden hour isn't everything though. You can shoot your photos all day in any sort of lighting condition, flat lighting, bright sun, or maybe the sun is hitting the trees in a different way in the forest, or the light's coming through the clouds, or you got God rays. As long as you can look for unique ways to compose your image, it won't yield the same results obviously as golden hour. Basically what I'm saying is try to see light. You might look at something that might be a boring photo, but maybe at a different time of the day, the light hits that subject in a different way, and it's a beautiful photograph that you wouldn't normally get. So try to get an understanding of how light works. The other thing I would say to do is move around. You're not just standing taking photos like this. Get low to the ground. Get to certain perspectives that other people wouldn't think of. Shoot through some blades of grass at a big open landscape. Something different, something that you wouldn't see normally, because everybody is out walking around at that level. What you're taking a photo of there, everyone else is seeing. So maybe shoot through some trees, shoot through a fence, you know, anything, like frame up your images, get low to the ground, get to a higher elevation, shoot downward, just take photos in a way that people generally wouldn't think, because you want to show a different perspective of that subject that everyone else has seen. You want to show it in a new light. So those are the things that I would do if I was starting photography in 2022. You know, it's all pretty basic stuff, but you learn how to do it along the way and you get much better at it. Photography is something that you're never going to be fully satisfied with. You'll always be wanting to do more, do better. So I hope this video helped you guys. If it did, drop a like, maybe sub, and see you guys in the next one. Peace.